Our diminished military didn't come about simply due to cost-cutting measures. Some see it as part and parcel of this administration's particular view of America's place in the world.
The next First Family of the United States of America.
On the night he was elected, Barack Obama promised a different sort of foreign policy.
The new dawn of American leadership is at hand.
It didn't take long to see this new leadership in action. On March 6, 2009, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton pressed a reset button with Russia, promising a new era of better relations. And on June 4, 2009, President Obama gave a speech in Cairo, promising a new beginning with the Muslim world.
Tension has been fed by colonialism that denied rights and opportunities to many Muslims.
He had a confidence coming in as president in 2009 that he could alter fundamentally our relationship with the Muslim world.
Joe Lieberman was chairman of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security from 2007 to 2013.
Unfortunately, I think the message he sent was that the United States was no longer going to exercise its leadership of the world, which, incidentally, through Democratic and Republican presidential administrations from the end of the war right up until this time, had been the great guarantor of security and prosperity and freedom in the world.
Jeffrey Goldberg, national correspondent for The Atlantic, who interviewed Barack Obama on his foreign policy, tried to explain the president's approach.
He refers to the Washington playbook. The Washington playbook is something happens in country X, and therefore we have to send 50 cruise missiles to deal with that problem. And what he wants to do, he says, is break Washington of the habit that every problem overseas comes with a potential military solution.
So it was clear he had a new take, but the question remained, what would President Obama actually do? He was against the war in Iraq, but his military people warned against a hasty withdrawal.
It was really important that we try to maintain a military presence there in order to make sure that the gains that had been achieved with a lot of blood by the United States as well as Iraqis, that those gains could be maintained.
Leon Panetta was President Obama's Secretary of Defense from 2011 until 2013.
That's why the Pentagon supported maintaining a presence there.
The key to preserving an American military presence in Iraq was to negotiate a stay-behind force. The president would have to take the lead.
The only chance we would have had for an agreement would have been his intensive involvement personally, and that didn't happen.
And so, on December 18, 2011, the last convoy of U.S. troops pulled out of Iraq. While all that was happening, the Arab Spring was spreading throughout the Arab world. Demonstrations and riots and even civil wars from people challenging their leaders. On January 25, 2011, Egyptians gathered in Cairo's Tahrir Square to protest the policies of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, America's longtime ally.
I've always considered Egypt to be critical to our ability to provide stability in the Middle East.
When it became apparent Mubarak had to go, the military urged caution, but the president pushed for his immediate removal.
Literally, the entire national security team recommended unanimously handling Mubarak differently than we did. And the president took the advice of 3 junior backbenchers in terms of how to treat Mubarak. One of them saying, "Mr. President, you got to be on the right side of history." And I would be sitting there at the table and I'd say, yeah, if we could just figure that out, we'd be a long way ahead.
I think he venerates the military, but I don't think he believes that generals should be trying to influence policymaking.
On February 11th, Mubarak resigned.
The wheel of history turned at a blinding pace.
The happiest day in the White House, as it relates to the Middle East, was probably the day that Mubarak left.
In June 2012, Egypt elected a new president, Mohamed Morsi, of the Muslim Brotherhood. In February 2011, Egypt's next-door neighbor, Libya, also went up in flames. The country's dictator, Muammar Gaddafi, had been cooperating with the U.S. since the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Many voices around the world were now demanding he be removed from power. Once again, the president's top military advisors counseled caution. When he sided with those who urged him to support the overthrow of Gaddafi, his Secretary of Defense resorted to extraordinary measures.
Did you actually tell your subordinates to limit the amount of information they gave to the White House on military options available in Libya?
All I said was, I don't want any military plans or options going to the White House that I haven't seen.
I mean, you write it a little bit more bluntly. You say, don't give the White House staff too much information on the military options. They don't understand it.
Pretty much.
It's a little more blunt. You had concern about that.
Absolutely.
About running military operations out of the White House.
Yeah. Yeah. The experience that we had with that in Vietnam didn't work so well.
On March 19, 2011, President Obama, citing humanitarian concerns, ordered the American military to lead a coalition to confront Gaddafi. On October 20, 2011, the Libyan leader was captured and killed by a mob, eliciting this response from the Secretary of State.
We came, we saw, he died.
Then there's Syria. On August 20th, 2012, after the Syrian regime, led by Bashar al-Assad, threatened to use chemical weapons against its enemies in the country's civil war, President Obama put him on notice.
A red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized.
The president ordered the military to prepare to strike if Assad did indeed cross that red line. On August 21st, 2013, the Assad regime used those chemical weapons to kill hundreds of men, women, and children. How would America respond? President Obama ordered his military to stand down.
They used chemical weapons against their own people, and we did nothing. We demonstrated weakness instead of strength.
We'll have more on the results of President Obama's foreign policy later. But when we return, we look at how he's transforming our military from the ground up.